Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. It's been a little while since I've given you an update on this ongoing project of mine. This is the new filter surround for the large U-shaped paludarium. It needed to be rebuilt because the last water pump gave out, so I decided to convert it to air operated, and I needed to adjust things so that it would work properly. And also I wanted to redo how it was going to be hid. Now, I had built this a little while ago, and all I need to do, of course, is do what I'm going to do today. But they wanted to adjust something a little bit. They want the water level to be a little bit deeper. So I talked to them for a while, and we came to a reasonable compromise. And that is what you see here. I'm going to add some legs to this. I didn't want to rebuild the whole thing. An awful lot of wasted material, and they only wanted about 1.5 inches more water. So that's what I'm doing here now. I'm going to add these legs. It doesn't need to be glued properly, it just needs to be solid. So it's very difficult to get methylene chloride to wick all the way through when one of the surfaces has been sanded, as you can see here. But I'm going to get enough on this side, and then once I flip it over so these are facing down, I will put some more on the other edge. And it's more than strong enough. There's not a whole lot of weight on this. I think the whole thing, once it is has all the rocks and everything else on it and filled with gravel, probably about 30-40 pounds, which is not a big deal for these sort of things. And there's going to be 6 of these legs, so that's more than enough. Actually, no, I was wrong. Sorry, there's going to be 8 of these legs, and that's going to be more than strong enough to hold this in place. So there you go. Now, the last time I did a filter hide for this sort of thing, I made a much smaller one. As you can see, this is going to be a much bigger project, but the nice thing about it is because it's being done all in one piece, it'll have greater continuity. I don't have to worry about things shifting around, and in the long run, I think it's going to look a lot nicer. You're not going to get to see it in the paludarium today. It'll be probably installed next week, and I'll give you an update on that once it's in place. So these are very straightforward to do. If you remember from the last time I did these, gluing driftwood onto anything doesn't work. It'll eventually get waterlogged and just pop right off. So I made these little peg posts. So they're basically just a quarter-inch clear acrylic, a quarter-inch hole, a quarter-inch round rod, and I just tap them into place. And that gets welded onto the acrylic, which is super strong. And the other nice thing about these things is I drill a quarter-inch hole in the piece of wood. And what happens is when the wood gets a little bit wet, it swells and it just grabs right onto the post, and I've yet to have one of these let go. So it's a very, very secure way of adding wood to anything. The only downside, of course, is you have to make sure you get it where you want it in the first place, because it's very difficult to get this not attached anymore and move it to somewhere new. So I have to be very careful of that. So I drilled the holes and cut the wood off camera because I'm trying to keep this video at least reasonably short. It was very straightforward to do on the bandsaw, and I do recommend some sort of mechanical way of doing this. Don't do it by hand. It's a lot of work, and it's easier to do this when you have power tools. And I made, I think, 2 mistakes in total on this. This one here, I didn't drill the hole deep enough. As you're going to see here shortly, it won't go down any further than that. Not a big deal, believe it or not. And the other one, the thin one, I cut all in the same, and of course the post for that one is too long. Both of those are very easy adjustments. So I'm trying to tap this down all around, and it just doesn't work. You need to put even force on all sides for it to slide through. And it's just a simple matter of, as you can see here, just getting a small piece of 1/2 inch PVC and then just tapping it into place. And once it's down to where you want it, then it's a simple matter of just sawing off that little nub there. And the same sort of thing goes for this, except in this case, it's going to be protruding from the other end, and it's just a simple matter, of course, just sawing off the last little bit, and that's it. You don't have to worry about how these plastic pieces are oriented. You never get to see them. They're going to be hidden, obviously, behind the pieces of wood. And then, of course, there's going to be a ton of gravel and rocks going on this, so in the long run, you're just not going to see any of it. And, of course, once this is all set up properly, there's going to also be lots of plants on this, so something else that's going to obscure anything that you're going to possibly do wrong. So that's the post sticking up there, and I'm going to I just snip it off. And you don't have to be careful about it either because, again, this is going to get welded onto the plastic, the acrylic, and you're never going to see it. And there you go. The other one is flush now and also quite hidden. And of course, once a little bit of algae gets on this, it is also next to impossible to detect. So this is very easy to do. Again, you don't have to be specific. It can be really sloppy. It just needs to be welded in place. And this is one of those things that is very, very solid and something you don't have to be anywhere near precise about. Just get them roughly where you want them. This one here, I thought initially I was going to have near the bottom. Then I decided, as you can see here in a few seconds, I'm wiggling it around. I decided to go with it protruding above the water. I think it's going to be a nice little look. It's because of the high humidity in the paludarium, I'm hoping to get some Java fern and that sort of thing growing on that, and have it, of course, also above the water. So gluing on these, this is just epoxy. These are very easy to attach. The only thing I don't like to do with these sorts of things is add too many of them. The nice thing about them, of course, is between this and the wood, it does cover an awful lot of real estate, so you don't have to use a whole lot of glue. I'm trying to keep it to a reasonable amount. And again, this sort of thing is just personal taste. I asked the client if they had any particular notions one way or another. They had seen some of my smaller pieces I put in as test pieces, and they thought that was perfectly fine. So basically, just make it look reasonable, and that's all there is to it. And that's it for rocks. The hard part about this, of course, is what's coming next. I have to put an awful lot of gravel on this, and it's just got a lot of nooks and crannies, places that are difficult to get everything placed properly, but it doesn't take very long. I think in total maybe about half an hour it took me to get it all glued up, not this part here, but putting the gravel on, so it was not hard. So there you go. It's all set now for the second part of this, which is this stuff. Now, this is supposedly washed gravel, but I noticed it had an awful lot of dust in it. And that is a problem, because what will happen is the epoxy will stick to the dust. And that means that a lot of the rocks might pop off over time. So in small batches, I'm going to wash it, and then I have to dry it. So I washed the whole bag. There's nowhere, I don't need anywhere near as much as I washed. This is all washed now, but I'll use it in my aquariums. That's not a problem. So I have a garbage bag spread out here, and I'm going to put a nice thin layer on the garbage bag. This is it's used for cooking. It's just for pulling out if you're deep frying stuff, so you don't burn your fingers. I bought one specially for this because obviously you don't want to have fish stuff in your food, but it's very handy for this sort of thing. So I put the fan on it, and periodically I went and did this until it was nice and dry. So no more water in my hands, and it's all set. So now it's just a simple matter of doing what I said I was going to do, which is get all the epoxy on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the far end, and I'm going to put some epoxy on. I'm going to move the epoxy in this direction, and when I get a little bit of extra margin, because I don't want it to obviously harden during this process. I don't think it's possible because it didn't really take me that long, but I did want it to be, I don't want to go to all this trouble and then have some of this just pop off because it's, not got enough of glue on it. So I put about a third, I think, coverage first, and then I started putting rocks on. I left obviously a gap between what I was putting on for rocks and where the edge of the glue is, and then sort of leapfrog my way across this thing. It didn't take, like I said, it didn't take long at all. And if you're going to do this sort of thing, don't worry about getting it all perfect the first time. What's going to happen is after this has cured, which is going to be overnight, I'm going to stand it upright, and obviously a whole pile of this is going to fall off. And I'll definitely end up with, at least one or two spots that are going to be, if not bare, you'll be able to see through it. Now on the inside of this, as you can see, there's going to be a fair amount of space for gravel to go. So near the top, That's not a big issue because you're going to have, it's going to be opaque on the other side of it, so you're not going to see that. But there's going to be a few spots where there's a possibility, and what I'm going to do at that point is just apply a little bit more epoxy in those bare spots and put some more gravel on. And it's just a rinse and repeat process until I have it looking the way I want it to. Again, it's not going to take very long, but like I said, don't expect it to be perfect the first time. And this sort of thing, really, when it comes right down to it, doesn't need to be perfect anyway, because it's all going to get hidden. Like I said, there's going to be moss, there's going to be plants, there's going to be everything on this, and in time, not much of this is actually going to be visible. So it's designed to hide things, and in itself ends up getting hid itself. So, and there you go. So this is almost, done really, because I've got almost all the epoxy on here. You can see I'm slathering quite a bit on. I don't really want to do too many coats, because I really do want to get this in place next week. It has been a project that's been going on now for longer than I want it to, and it's a good idea just to get it finished and have it so that the client has what they want. So there you go. That's pretty much it. Just a matter of putting a coat of gravel on it now. Leave comments below. Let me know if you ever tried this before, if you've made hides for things, if you've glued rocks or anything onto any kind of surface. I've made a few videos about this already, so anyway, just let me know what you think of all this sort of stuff. So I'll give you an end view of this after I've got all this together, and next week, like I said, I'm going to get it installed, and hopefully in a much more timely fashion I will show you what it looks like, because I haven't given you a view of the paludarium in a long time. A lot of the plants have grown up really quite nicely, so I would like to show you that. So here you go. It's all done. Well, coat number 1 is done. So thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, let me know what you think. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.